more, but we should be careful in the category of hotels we would like to do. For short term, yes, the demand will be more than the supply. But in the long term, 3 to 5 years, I am concerned the supply will be over the demand, and this has a negative impact on the room rate, on maintaining the building,
Sure.
on hiring people, especially the Saudization, maximizing the asset.
Sure.
So
But Mr. Hussein, you mentioned something very important. You mentioned that oversupplying with hotels. So there's a lot of 7-star hotels, 5-star hotels, and even 4-star hotels. Do you think there's room on the market for a 3-star hotels? For maybe, I mean, the people who are on a less, on a budget maybe, who can be aimed at singles or something like this. Do you think there's a space for a new market like this in the kingdom?
there is a market for 4-star, a good 4-star hotel, especially now I hear SST, they're making specification for the hotel classification.
Sure.
And if we reach a good 4-star hotels, those hotels will gain more than the 5-star hotel and 5-star deluxe.
Okay, but what about a 3-star hotel? So you're going slightly down, but to meet a certain market, maybe singles or people who are on a lower budget.
Like youth houses or youth hotels or hostels. They're all over the
I
world.
was thinking more of a hotel, but on a lower budget, something that offers maybe a bread and breakfast, something more limited.
Yes, but at the end of the day, it has to go on the line, because you know the hotels are the first direction for any visitor to the country.
Sure.
And it presents the country.
Sure.
And safety and security is the best service you can provide to the guest before the food and the accommodation. So as long as those 3-star hotels are well equipped and secure and safe and the cleanliness, anyone can go to them. And by the way, it happened some of the days during 2008, 5-star hotel guests couldn't find a room, so they stay in 3-star hotel. But
Okay.
I hope it will get better according to the new quality required.
Okay, sure. But you were mentioning before about training and development. Hotels obviously take up a lot of employees, right? How do you think, in your opinion, a hotel can play an important role in giving training and development for young Saudis?
Yes, that is the best way. That's why now there is a arrangement going on between the College of the Tourism and Ministry of Labor and Hotel to hire the graduated Saudi and to train them. And the fund, Human Resources Saudi Arabia, are supporting this financially, and that is the best way to build a loyal people in the long term.
Okay, so you do have a program for graduates. That's great.
And
That's
it's
great.
going on, yes. And it's a lot of coordination going on between SCCT and the college and hotels regularly.
Okay, but right now I'm going to ask you, as a vice president of hotels division, future plans. I mean, when it comes to hotel management around the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, what do you expect? What do you see in the future? I mean, right now you should use the resources you've got to build up the best thing that you could. But what do you see, for example, in 10 years when it comes to tourism, when it comes to hotels?
I believe the hotels has a great future, as long as we know what we are doing in the long term and medium term. We build the right hotel with the right size, with the right classification.
In the right location.
And the right location. And the location is a part of the classification, by the way. Yes. And we have to consider the other facility. Riyadh Development Authority making a great efforts to support it by the transportation. And car parking is an issue. Manpower, human resources, again, is another issue. So as long as it is well studied and the international operator is honest with his forecasting with the investor, and they know what is the return of the investment in the medium term and long term, then we'll go to the right direction.
Mr. Hussein, I'd like to ask you something completely different. Obviously, you know, Saudi Arabia is very big in size, okay? And there's different areas all over the kingdom, very natural mountains, clean air. These areas can be used in tourism, a special interest tourism like health tourism. Do you think in the future that we will ever see hotels aimed at special interest tourists in these far areas, not in the city, not in Jeddah, not in Riyadh, but in these further away areas in the desert, you know, with the clean air.
Yeah. To answer your questions about the space of the country, I just read one of the visibility companies saying every 14 person in Saudi Arabia living or having a space of 1 square kilometer.
Yeah,
This is show and proven what you are saying.
spacious.
On the other hand, there is so many study and project in the pipeline related to what you are saying. Also resorts, because we need a clean environment. You know, the environment in Saudi Arabia, the human right, the people have, let's say, starting from 60 centimeter green area per person
Sure.
in Egypt till 2 meters per person green area in the Gulf,
Yeah.
while in Europe 7 and 8 square meter for each person. So we need to expand this.
Expand the space. Sure.
And that's why many people start to think to have a hotels and resorts, which is new in the country. And I know there is so many going on now in the north of Riyadh, as well as medical. They build the hotel beside
Far away.
hospitals
Yeah.
and far away for and
A health
Saudi.
resort, in
Yes.
other words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a question related to Rasha's question, of course. For me as a Saudi, I always travel from Riyadh to Sharqiya by car. And this road is extremely rushed. Or for example, from Riyadh to Jeddah. And it's like a 9-hour drive or a 10-hour drive. So sometimes you need to rest in a hotel. And for example, at least there should be like a small motel. Are you looking forward to use these? I mean, it's a huge area. You could build a very huge
Yeah.
hotel there. Is it a future plan, or why aren't people in that focus about this subject, especially from the hotel side?
You see, this one of the message which I would like to address it to everybody,
Sure.
every authority, every businessman, every investor. The roads in Saudi Arabia and the facilities on the road, they're not sufficient, and they're not yet up to the standard which we would like to encourage tourism to travel, because most of the travelers inside domestic, 64% by car,
By car.
by
yeah.
road.
Sure.
And those people, they need a facility on the side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They use,
A comfortable hotel, something to
Or
stay in. to
at least
rest
a
in.
motel.
Sure.
in Mecca, for example, I saw so many cars coming from Kuwait, from Oman, a long way. You talk about
Sure.
2,000 kilometers.
Exactly. It's like if
Yes.
it's the whole family, it should take
And-
almost a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I can't say there is a return of the investment in such project, but it's a very important infrastructure, either to be done by the government or by the authority or by good business people to support this in order to present the country and to make the facility easier to the traveler.
Sure. Having said that, I'd like to ask you something slightly connected to that. Mr. Hussein, how do you see the hotel industry? Do you think the hotel industry in Saudi Arabia is dependent on domestic tourists, or is it dependent on national tourists? So if we have less national tourists, we will obviously never have little national tourists because we've got the Hajj and the pilgrimage, so people come for that anyway. But is it dependent on internal tourists or national tourists, the hotel industry?
If you look at the five-star hotels, there is something they call it arrival by nationality
Sure.
and guest nights, how many room nights they do.
Yeah.
If you look at the nationality in five-star deluxe hotel especially, you will find Saudi become number one.
Really?
For example, with the summer promotion going on, I saw in many hotels at least 50 to 60 honeymooners every day. And they're happy, and I'm sure when they leave the hotel, they'll be more happier.
Sure.
But Saudi National and GCC, they're presenting 65% of the hotel guests, while the other 35 international.
So we can very much manage with the internal market and the GCC countries.
Still strong enough to supply, yes.
Okay, but do you think we need internal tourists to further boost the hotel industry, to make it very big? If, like what me and Mohammed was saying, to build hotels on the roads and in the middle of nowhere, do we need more tourists to do this, or?
Say it again, please.
Do we need more tourists if we want to? You said that 65% are internal tourists and GCC countries, visitors.
Yes.
So do you think if we want the hotel industry to boom, to really go big, do we need more national tourists to expand hotels more, or are we fine as we are?
No, we need, there is no doubt, yeah. We need to promote all this. And you see, we need to really focus on the tourism, internal tourism. And this has to start by every one of us. It's a task of everybody. And you can't know the country from the windows of the car.
Sure.
You need to go and touch. And I know His Royal Highness Prince Sultan bin Salman is doing a lot of efforts. We have a lot of hope. We want to aim to the moon, but if we lay down between the stars, we are happy. We are happy. So I support what you're saying. Yes.
One more question, and could you answer briefly, please? How do you see tourism in Saudi Arabia in short words? How do you see it last year, this year? What do you expect next year?
It will exceed everybody's expectation because of the setup made and the efforts. Yes.
And what do we, just finally, quickly, what do we need for it to exceed everybody's expectations? Do you think there's something else that we need?
To promote it?
Yes.
Yes. I believe, again, the roads facility, this is very important. We need to translate our history in books. Culture of translation is very important by different language on the website, on books of Hajj program, of Umrah, of hotels. If those people get to know what we got, I'm sure it will go.
If they know what we got, I'm sure, I agree with you, they will all be here because Saudi Arabia is truly a gem. And Mr. Hussein Ali Hatata, Vice President Hotels Division, I'd like to thank you so much for being with us today.
I enjoy being with you,
Thank you
and
so
I wish
much.
you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
But I think now it's time to go to our favorite part of summer on KSA2. Lots of prizes, lots of questions. Let's go with Faris and Faraz. Stay with us.